I don't care how your company's rules work. I'm paying 4 times the usual fee to get this done tonight. I stood there, my heart pounding hard, a mix of anger and nerves surging through me. I couldn't believe she'd dare to sabotage my hard work like this, so blatantly. Right then, Sergeant Diego Alvarez, who'd been quietly watching from his patrol car, stepped out to check on the unusual late-night construction activity. He approached just as Ramona was shouting, "Let me tell you my story. It's a tense battle about me, a regular woman who just wanted a peaceful life. But the HOA president wouldn't let me have that simple wish. Leave a comment with the number 9, so I know you're ready to dive into my tale. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, so you won't miss the most thrilling twists still waiting ahead. I'm Saffron Delaney, 47 years old, a landscape designer born and raised in the quiet suburbs of Cedarstone Vale. My hometown's a small place nestled against the southwestern mountains, where babbling streams wind through wild fields. But now, I live in this neighborhood, dreaming of turning my home into a little paradise. My job is breathing life into outdoor spaces, and I never imagined that passion would drag me into a fierce fight, all over a backyard pool. I never thought I'd be grateful for installing security cameras around that pool. But those devices turned out to be the key evidence in a saga the whole neighborhood later dubbed the HOA's Mad Cement Campaign, right here in peaceful Cedarstone Vale. This is the story of a classic Karen, Ramona Huxley, the HOA board president, who turned her personal grudge against my pool renovation into a serious crime that shook the local evening news. It all started this summer when I decided to revamp my backyard pool. The original design from the 1960s was outdated and faded. After a wildly successful year with my landscaping projects, I finally had enough money to transform it into a dream space. I followed every step in the HOA handbook, submitted detailed blueprints, included material samples, and even built a 3D model to prove it barely altered the view from the main road. The project involved new tiles, advanced safety features, and an energy-saving system. Nothing extravagant, just a tasteful upgrade. My plan passed at the first HOA board meeting, with 6 out of 7 members in favor. The only holdout was Ramona Huxley, the newly appointed HOA president and resident Karen. I should have paid attention when she dragged the discussion out for 40 minutes, insisting the pale blue tiles I picked were too modern for the neighborhood's old-fashioned charm. But with the majority vote on my side, I scheduled construction to start 3 weeks later. Then the letters started pouring in. First, a notice claimed my grass was more than 1 inch above the allowed height. Next, a warning said my mailbox wasn't reflective enough. When I installed a doorbell camera, something the HOA rules totally permit, I got fined for an exposed surveillance device visible from the street. Every letter bore Karen Ramona's signature, complete with a little flower doodle, but it only left me feeling suffocated and powerless. The pool renovation kicked off on schedule, and that's when this Karen went all in on her war. She'd park her deep red SUV right in front of my driveway every morning, snapping photos of the crew and scribbling notes nonstop. When I walked up to confront her, she smirked and said, "I'm just gathering evidence of violations for the next meeting, Delaney. Someone has to preserve this neighborhood's beauty." I tried to stay calm, invited her to see the work, showed her the approved plans, even offered to talk it out over a cool drink. But that Karen cut me off. "I don't deal with people who flout the rules. It drags down our collective image." Funny thing is, she'd been approved to plant a giant giraffe-shaped topiary right in her own front yard. The project was nearly done when I got an urgent notice from the HOA. According to Karen Ramona, an anonymous concerned resident reported that the pool's new depth markers used Verdana instead of the traditional Garamond font, required by Section 4.8.1 of the pool guidelines. The notice demanded I halt everything immediately, pending a special hearing, which, due to mandatory procedures, wouldn't happen for 12 weeks. My heart thudded in my chest. Fury boiled up like it might burst. I couldn't believe all my effort was being threatened by something so absurd. I have to admit, I couldn't stay calm in that moment. I marched over to Ramona Huxley's house, gripping the HOA handbook tightly in my hand, ready to point out to her face that not a single line in it mentioned anything about fonts. She opened the door, dressed in expensive yoga gear, holding a glass of orange juice even though it was only 9 in the morning. "Oh, Saffron," she said, her voice flat as she ran a hand through her sleek hair. "I was just about to text you. The board's received dozens of new complaints about that little project of yours. Looks like we'll have to add them to the upcoming discussion list." Right then, I noticed an HOA handbook on the table near her doorway. It looked noticeably thicker than mine. When I asked about the difference, she smirked and said, "This is the President's exclusive edition. It includes all the unannounced revisions. We have to keep some leadership perks, don't we?" I left her house with frustration burning in my chest, but I told myself I'd handle this properly. I emailed the entire HOA board, requesting an emergency meeting to clear things up. For members replied with clear sympathy. Apparently, they had no clue about the revisions Ramona kept citing. We set the meeting for 3 days later, and I could sense her irritation through her silence when she was added to the confirmation email. The night before the meeting, I was sitting in my home office, eyes glued to the screen late into the night, when I heard the sound of a truck engine reversing nearby. At first, I didn't think much of it, until voices drifted in from the backyard. I opened my security camera app, and what I saw froze me in place. A cement truck parked in the alley behind my house, and Ramona, in her designer workout clothes, directing 3 confused-looking workers toward my pool. I grabbed my phone, switched it to video mode, and raced downstairs, my heart pounding like wildfire. But I was about to learn that sometimes justice arrives in unexpected, deeply satisfying ways. Because Ramona Huxley was so caught up orchestrating her midnight cement pour, she didn't notice 4 critical things. An unmarked police car parked 2 blocks away on routine patrol, my new security floodlights blazing to life, her triggering the auto-recording system, and, most importantly, her standing right over the spot my pool crew had carefully marked as the main underground power line. What happened next changed our neighborhood forever, though not in the way Ramona had hoped. As I stood there in my pajamas, phone in hand recording it all, I had no idea this was just the start of a massive scandal. One that would eventually drag in 3 district prosecutors, a curious FBI agent, and a shocking reveal about Ramona's mysterious funds. Drama so wild it'd outshine any reality TV show. Minutes later, chaos erupted. The security floodlights had triggered the camera's auto-recording feature, capturing every moment in crisp detail as Ramona barked at the workers. "Start pouring?" I said, "It's fine. I've got full authority from the board." The workers, looking more uneasy by the second, kept holding up their phones, probably trying to show her something. Maybe the permit rules for filling a residential pool. Just then, Sergeant Diego Alvarez, who'd been quietly watching from his patrol car, stepped out to investigate the odd late-night construction. He walked over right as Ramona yelled, "I don't care how your company's rules work. I'm paying 4 times the usual fee to get this done tonight." I stood there, my heart thumping hard, a mix of fury and disbelief washing over me. I couldn't fathom how she dared to ruin my hard work so openly. I'll never forget the moment Sergeant Diego Alvarez cleared his throat and said, "Ma'am, I need to see the permit for this work." Ramona spun around so fast she nearly stumbled, her pricey workout gear glinting under the security lights, highlighting her panicked expression in the dark. "Sergeant, thank goodness you're here." Ramona quickly switched to a sugary, fake tone. "This pool's been listed by the neighborhood board as a community hazard. I'm just carrying out an emergency order to fix it." She reached into the pocket of her designer athletic jacket, pulling out a sheet of paper that looked important. Sergeant Alvarez took the paper, studying each line carefully. "Ma'am, this is just an HOA meeting schedule with some handwritten notes. It's not a legal permit to conduct construction, especially at 1 in the morning on someone else's property." His voice was calm, but firm. That's when I couldn't stay quiet any longer. "Sergeant, I'm the homeowner, and I absolutely didn't agree to this," I said, holding up my phone to show him I'd recorded everything. Inside, I was a tangle of emotions, furious at the violation, but relieved that the truth was about to come out. The 3 cement truck workers let out sighs of relief, quickly packing up their gear to leave. Ramona stood there, her face shifting from shock to confusion, then settling into self-righteousness. This is an internal community matter. You have no right to interfere. She stomped her foot, a gesture that looked ridiculous when you considered she was trying to ruin my $90,000 pool project I'd poured my heart into. Sergeant Alvarez maintained his professional calm. Ma'am, intentionally pouring cement into someone else's pool without permission could be considered several offenses, including property damage and disturbing the peace. I'll need everyone to show some ID. He spoke without a hint of hesitation, and it sparked a flicker of hope in me. Ramona spun toward the workers, shouting, "I'll sue your company if you leave." We had a verbal agreement, but the workers didn't even respond. They practically ran back to their truck. As it pulled away, Ramona yanked out her phone, her fingers jabbing at the screen. "It's all just a misunderstanding. I'm texting the HOA's lawyer right now." Sergeant Alvarez raised an eyebrow, his tone tinged with doubt. "At 1 in the morning?" Just then, a crackling sound cut through the air, followed by a small pop and the sharp smell of burning plastic hitting my nose. Remember that underground power line I mentioned earlier? Turns out Ramona's pacing had cracked the temporary protective cover the construction crew had put down. The security floodlights flickered wildly, and then a third of the neighborhood went dark. I stood there, heart pounding, a mix of worry and outrage flooding me. I couldn't believe her recklessness had taken things this far. Sergeant Diego Alvarez immediately called for backup and contacted the power company. While we waited, Karen Ramona kept insisting it was all a minor mix-up, but her story kept changing. First, she claimed it was an urgent HOA action. Then she said it was a pre-approved pool removal I must have agreed to months ago. Finally, she even argued she was helping me, because my pool renovation was dragging the neighborhood's property values to rock bottom. The power company arrived 15 minutes later, along with 3 more officers. As they assessed the damage, I noticed Ramona's phone buzzing nonstop. She kept rejecting calls from a number labeled Vince Urgent. I didn't think much of it then, but that number would later become a key piece of what was to come. The officers started taking statements from everyone. Though they stayed professional, I could tell they were holding back reactions to Ramona's increasingly bizarre excuses. When she demanded they arrest me for breaking HOA rules, Sergeant Alvarez calmly explained, "HOA regulations are a civil matter, not criminal." Ramona doubled down, "But she's ruining our property values. Isn't that a crime? Do you know how pale blue tiles destroy this neighborhood's classic charm?" Another officer turned away to hide a quick smirk. As the night dragged on, a few neighbors started poking their heads out to see what was happening. Ramona tried rallying support, but her midnight cement scheme didn't win anyone over. Ms. Lila Torres, who's lived across from me for 25 years, shook her head in dismay. "I remember when the HOA brought people together, not manipulated them like this." By 2 in the morning, the power was back on, and the police had gathered enough details for their report. They advised me to file for a restraining order and document any further incidents. Ramona got a citation for damaging the power line and was told to stay off my property. As she stormed back to her house, she turned and shouted, "This isn't over. The HOA board will hear all about it the day after tomorrow." My blood boiled with anger, but I knew she'd dug her own grave. What Ramona didn't see coming was that the board would hear about it soon, though not from her. While she was busy dealing with the police, I'd sent the security camera footage to every board member, along with a detailed timeline of her escalating harassment. But even I couldn't have predicted how fast things would unravel for Ramona Huxley as dawn broke, or that the mysterious Vince, who kept calling her, would be the key to unlocking a scheme far bigger than our little neighborhood pool dispute. The next morning, I took the day off work and spent 3 hours with my lawyer, going over the videos, emails, and screenshots of every interaction with Ramona. As we reviewed the evidence, my lawyer's expression shifted, from concern to disbelief to excitement. "Ms. Delaney," she said, "I don't say this often, but we should reach out to the district attorney's office. This isn't just regular harassment." While my lawyer got to work, I attended an emergency HOA board meeting called by the other members. Ramona was a no-show, texting only that she was tied up with a prior commitment. The board members were stunned as they watched the camera footage. And then the real revelations started pouring out. Board member Mateo Rivera had been quietly digging into irregularities in the HOA's financial records. He'd found that Ramona had deliberately inflated violation fines and funneled the extra money into a separate account. And Vince, the one blowing up Ramona's phone? Turns out he was Vincent Caldwell, a local real estate developer known for snapping up struggling HOA communities on the cheap. I stood there, my heart pounding hard, a mix of shock and outrage hitting me as I realized the dark plot behind her actions. Their plan was bold, almost breathtakingly so. Karen Ramona had teamed up with Vincent Caldwell to intentionally tank property values in our neighborhood, using arbitrary rules and harsh enforcement. Meanwhile, Vincent's company was quietly buying up struggling homes in Cedarstone Vale. Once they owned enough properties, they planned to dissolve the HOA entirely and turn the area into a luxury condo development. My pool renovation didn't just annoy Ramona, it threatened their entire scheme. A well-maintained home with modern upgrades would drive up surrounding property values, making their takeover far more expensive. That's why she was desperate enough to risk everything to sabotage it. The district attorney's office took a keen interest in this, especially since it spanned multiple areas and involved numerous properties. By noon that day, Ramona had been summoned by investigators. They found spreadsheets on her computer detailing the plan, along with emails to Vincent outlining their strategy. The best part? She'd used the HOA's official email account for it all, making every piece of evidence legally airtight. The next 10 days were a whirlwind of tension. Ramona was arrested and faced a slew of serious charges, including fraud, conspiracy, and intentional property damage. Vincent agreed to testify for the prosecution in exchange for a lighter sentence. Local reporters swarmed the neighborhood, interviewing residents about the HOA corruption scandal. One clever journalist even dubbed it cement chaos. The most unforgettable moment came at Ramona's first court appearance. She walked in wearing a designer dress, flashing a smug smile, like she was certain she'd wriggle out of it. But when the judge read the charges and mentioned a possible 15-year sentence, her face went pale, her confidence vanishing in an instant. Her lawyer scrambled to negotiate a plea deal. In the end, Ramona took a plea, 3 years in prison, a hefty fine, and restitution to every resident she'd unfairly penalized. She's also banned from serving on any HOA board for life. Vincent's company faced a massive penalty and had to sell off the properties they'd acquired. The fallout brought unexpected positive changes to our community. The new HOA board, led by Ms. Alma Navarro, rewrote the rules to be clear and fair. All financial records are now public to residents, and fines require approval from a committee. No one gets to decide alone. They even unanimously greenlit my pool project, pale blue tiles and all. My pool was finished 2 weeks ago. To celebrate, I threw a poolside party for the whole neighborhood. Watching kids splash in the water and neighbors chat on the new deck, Ms. Navarro raised her glass in a toast. To Saffron, who showed us that standing up for what's right is the best way to bring people together. I smiled, a mix of relief and pride washing over me. Someone suggested adding a small plaque by the pool to mark the occasion. The proposed wording? This pool survived cement, corruption, and a Karen. So did we. The latest word I've heard is that Ramona's adjusting poorly in prison. She tried starting an inmate advisory group to change the uniform colors, but no one backed her. A guard told me her fellow inmates call her HOA Karen, and they've collectively shot down her pitch for gym yard rules. As for me, I'm enjoying my gorgeous pool, comforted knowing my security cameras are always ready to record, just in case another HOA president gets midnight sabotage ideas. Sometimes victory isn't just about beating your opponent, it's about sparking lasting good from it. Still, I'll admit, knowing Ramona's designer workout gear has been swapped for an orange jumpsuit adds a little extra joy to my morning swims. What do you think of this story? The saga between Saffron Delaney and Karen Ramona in Cedarstone Vale taught me something unique about today's society. The the power to turn a petty dispute into a launchpad for redefining how we connect. I'm struck by how Saffron didn't just defend her property. She unwittingly opened a door for the neighborhood to rethink the value of honesty and accountability, turning a tense situation into a chance for people to learn to listen and respect each other. In a world where technology and individualism can pull us apart, this tale suggests that sometimes everyday troubles are the glue that binds us, helping us rediscover what it means to live and grow together. This is a fictional story crafted for entertainment and inspiration, not meant to criticize or harm any person or group. Did you find anything intriguing in how they reconnected? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fresh stories. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. Wishing you a peaceful day, and see you in the next one.